Hi, my name is Caroline. I'll be moderating the today's action research for language teachers today. I'm very happy that Melta Melaka chapter has already launched our first uh, online talk. So, with much ado, I would like to ask our dear Miss Jai, our Melta Melaka chapter leader, to say a few words. Jai, please.
Thank you so much, Carol. Good morning, everyone. Good morning from Melta Melaka chapter. Right, we are very privileged to have Jane with us to share about action research for language teachers. And we would like to also give an appreciation to Melta organization, Dr. Ramesh, Chandra, and everyone in Melta who have always supported us in our initiative to bring good webinars for teachers all over Malaysia. So teachers, just sit back, relax, and let us hear it from Dr. Jane. And if there are any questions, you may post it on the comment section and we will try to address them. And do stay tuned for more webinars from Melta Melaka chapter. I'm so happy and glad that all of you have joined us this morning. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and also not forgetting my wonderful committee members who have always given me so much of support. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Over to you, Carol.
Thank you, Jai. Now, before we start, I would like to remind all the participants here that please stay online as the link for your certs will be provided at the end of the webinar. And please do remember that we need about 10 to 15 days, working days, for us to process all the e-certificates. So I hope all of you will understand. Right. Now, before we go into further, let us get to know a little bit about Dr. Jane Cheok. Dr. Jane Cheok obtained her bachelor degree in secondary education and English language teaching from University of Exeter in UK in 1997. She obtained her master's degree in teaching English as second language from UPM in 2002, and in 2018 she was awarded the Doctor of Philosophy in Curriculum and Instruction by again the same university. She was teaching in a secondary school for 5 years from 1997 to 2002, and before she joined the Teaching Training Institute as a lecturer for 17 years. So she has an abundance of experience. At present, she is attached to Tun Fatima from 6 College in Malacca. Right. With that, I would like to invite Dr. Jane Cheok to proceed with her presentation today. Dr. Cheok?
All right, thank you, Caroline. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my not so much knowledge of action research. Um, Now, last year I managed to get my action research published in English Language Teaching and Research Journal. It's an international journal based in Indonesia. So, so that gives me the confidence of sharing, having this session with all of you. Now, I did a extensive reading program with my Form 6 students, started last year, and I wrote the paper after 2 months of implementing the program. I'm still doing it now, still collecting data, and so I will share whatever knowledge and skills, my experience. I am sure there will be many of you out there listening to me who have more. You may have more knowledge and skills, and you can share and help me answer the questions at the end of this session if I can. Now, this is, if you go to Google Scholar and you click in my name, you can get the papers that I've written so far. My extensive reading program, the paper is also in here, Google Scholar. Now, the aim of my sharing session, there are three parts to it, to this. First, I will explain what is action research. And second, we will look at why do we practitioners carry out action research, and step-by-step guidelines on how to carry out a action research process. Now, what is action research? No, because I also do the conventional research for my PhD, most of my papers are that. Only lately that I'm in school, that I start reading up and start working on action research. But also when I was in IPG, IPG lecturers also, we need to guide our trainees in carrying out action research for their thesis. So action research, what is action research? This is by practitioners. We are also known as researcher practitioners. These are insiders researchers. We are insiders researchers. We are not outsider. Outsider researchers would be like me, but like my PhD study. My thesis was on studying factors that affect teachers' satisfaction when using Frog VLE. So I created a model on what are the factors that will influence, that will influence teachers' satisfaction. What will make them satisfied? Why do I do that? Is because once teachers are satisfied, when we are satisfied about something, we will want to continue using it. So that was the reason why I studied satisfaction for Frog VLE. Now, so I was an outsider researcher. I was observing from afar. There's nothing I can do about it. I cannot change teachers. I cannot influence them in any way. I was just studying as an outsider. But unlike that research, action research is we are part of the situation that we are investigating. So it is it has to be a discipline. Discipline meaning you must, at every interval, you must have some kind of data collection, and it has to be a systematic process of inquiry, because if you don't do that, then you will have trouble writing it up, convincing your readers. So it has to be well documented, but it's not like doing it's not like it will take up a lot of your time. No, you must make it part of your everyday lesson, lesson in the classroom. Now, there are two principal categories of action research. It can either be a descriptive research. This is where we want to understand what's currently occurring, what's happening, and we want to understand whether it's working or it's not. We just want to understand why such situation. Another category is quasi-experimental, where we test a hypothesis. Now, it's not a full experimental because we don't have a control group. Most of the time, action research, we don't have a control group. Now, there's a hypothesis here. That means we are carrying out a specific action, an intervention. And action research is also different from other kinds of research. According to experts in McNeef and Whitehead and Sagor, you ask yourself these three questions. And if your answer is yes to all three, then it is an action research. First, ask yourself, are you studying your own work? You're not studying other people's work. That's an outsider's research. So, second question, can you change your future action based on the results? It's something that you can do something about. You can do something about once you get the result and you feel that if it's not working, you can make changes. You must be in that situation. And lastly, will it help you? Will it help you be able to improve your teaching? So if the answer is a yes, then okay. Now, if you don't carry out an action research, most of the time we teachers in the classroom, we will use our science and intuitions to give us idea about what things are happening. But you must understand that science and intuitions will only give you a partial view. So in order to better understand, you got to gather more and better information. We start off by reflecting in our head, but after that we got to move. We got to start reading up, gather information, and then we will understand the situation better. If it just based on our science and intuition, if it just stays in our head, we reflecting on our own, I doubt it will give you a complete understanding of the situation that you are in. Now, why do we conduct action research? Now, I personally, I enjoy doing research, whatever research. So since I joined Form 6 last year and I started with this extensive reading program, I feel that, for my PhD, I did a quantitative study. And I find that the action research makes more sense as teachers, as practitioners, and we can understand it better. So it is rich in information, and most of us can understand. We speak the same kind of language, unlike quantitative. If you do not understand Amos analysis or SPSS, this when researchers present the research articles, when they present those kind of findings, you can't understand much. So unlike action research shared by other practitioners, so we can understand and we can adopt and adapt to our own classroom, so we can improve, we make changes. So you conduct action research is to improve learning. Once you improve your learning, definitely you will improve your practices. It's not just an action. It is purposeful practice. That means you're doing something after thinking through about it. You have thought through the process. So you are advancing knowledge and theory. Now this, when we talk about theory, I mean, we teachers, years ago when we talk about theory, I thought it's something that I can never understand. I thought it is something which is very difficult, which is alien. But since after having carry out research, write papers and all, I feel we need theory. And theory, in terms of action research, it is your own theory of practice. You come up with your own theory. But it has to be something that you have thought through and you can explain, and it is a guide for you in carrying out your research. So I do strongly advocate teachers. I think it's interesting. It gives meaning to my work with the action research. So you get to investigate and evaluate your work. So of course, in the process of doing this, you will improve your own learning. And when you as teachers improve in your learning, it will influence your students. You will be a better teacher, and therefore your students will improve, definitely. So so you are actually thinking and making decisions for yourself. What happens in a classroom is not because my boss my headmaster or headmistress say that I must do this, but it's because I think this is the right way to do things. So you ask yourself, what am I doing? What if you feel that what you are doing is not according to your values, it goes against to what you believe in, then I believe you got to change. Then you ask yourself, what do I need to improve? And how do I improve it? These are the questions that will get you to start thinking. So now we go to the, so how you have all these things in your head, and you know you want to change things. Something needs to be improved in the classroom, in your teaching um, your teaching skills. So how do you go about carrying out an action research? You know, there are many different books, different experts. They will tell you, give you a different framework. But actually, I come to think of it, it all boils down to it's the same thing. Perhaps they, instead of 6 stages, some reduce it to 4, like Sagon, or different kinds of questions being asked, different terms, but you realize at the end we are all going to the same, working towards the same thing, in wanting to collect the same thing. First thing first, you have to be very clear of your vision and target, meaning you must know what exactly you want to achieve. What is the issue that you would like to solve? That's the first stage for Sagos. After I'll show you Magnif and Whitehead, they will have different stages. They will have different process that you go through. Next stage, he said that we got to articulate theory. For my articulating theory can be your own theory of practice, or you can also adopt and adapt from your literature reading. For example, if you are carrying out a reading program, you saw a theory and you liked it, and you feel that it can be used as it is in your research, then you can just adopt it, or else you adapt. And it is yours. And it is yours because you are using it in your context. Next stage is so you know your issue, you have the theory to guide you. Because if you don't have a theory, then you go everywhere. You are not guided in the direction, no specific direction, so you go everywhere. So that is why we need to have a theory. Then you need to implement it, and you collect your data. And lastly is to reflect on the data. So at every stage is important, because the minute the earlier stages you missed, or you are not clear, then you have problem in the last stage. You'll be looking at your data and you're not sure, you can't find anything. So the first stage is to clarify vision and targets. Now, this basically asking yourself, what do I want to achieve? There are many things. Of course, there are many things that we would like to try and improve in our classroom. But the thing is, you got to narrow it. You can't do everything, so you got to narrow it. Now, these are some of the strategies that you can use to narrow the focus of your study. You can use reflective writing, journals. Reflective writing and journals, what experts suggest is that, after every class, you give yourself 10 minutes to reflect what happened to this class. So you write. Because writing helps us focus. It helps us stay focused. So So perhaps after doing your reflective writing, you can get some ideas from there, the issues that you would like to work on. Or reflective interviews, you can get your friend to discuss things, and that will give you ideas, and suddenly you think, oh yes, I would like to do that. Analytic discourse and your team reflection. These are some of the strategies that you can use. If let's say you don't know how to narrow your focus of study, you do not know exactly what you want to study. Now, so then you ask yourself, what do you want to achieve? According to Sago in his book 2005, there are three types of achievement targets. We can either look at performance target, meaning performance target means we look at how students, what students gain from our action. Remember, we want to test the hypothesis. It's actually testing an intervention or an action that we believe, when carried out, will help students to, we can help to influence students' learning and help them be better. So again in terms of what? If you want to further be more specific, we can talk about cognitive, demonstrative, behavioral, or affective. Then there is also achievement target in terms of process. This is, you are looking at your teaching skills, and program target is where the outcome is for the entire school, or for the specific subject. So these are the kinds of targets that you can you can have. So we are still at stage one. So all these things you got to think and reflect upon, and then only you can get your focus of study. Um, you Once you have an issue, then you would like to further refine it, so you can compare your experience with others. It's good to talk to other teachers and find out what they're doing and what you're doing. Um, Insights from your colleagues, your literature review. I find literature review because literature review, for me, I do lots of literature review. I read lots of books, um, articles, to give me ideas and to know what other people are doing. Then we also need to develop criteria to measure changes with achievement target. How do you know, okay, you have this achievement target in terms of performance? For example, I want to see that students improve. When I carry out this intervention, students' language, their language proficiency will be better. Now, how do I know it is better? When you say it will be better, then you need to have a rubric or a tool to help you measure and to tell confidently that yes, they have improved because of this. This is my standard judgment. This is the criteria that I use. You need to have your rubric. You cannot just say, I think they have improved. So when it comes to research, nothing works like that. And appropriate growth, meaning that with the time given, so the growth, the period of time that you have. Either your research can be 2 months, can be a year. So it's up to you. When I submitted my paper for extensive reading, my extensive reading program last year, it was only for 2 months. Then we started the MCO, so a lot of things went haywire. But that first 2 months of what I did, what I found, I used that to write a paper and submit to the journal, and it was accepted without me having to do any corrections. So as long as there is no standard when it comes to action research, at that point I was asking myself, what is the standard format of writing an AR? But actually, it you just use your common sense. Make sure that you are clear. Whomever read your paper knows exactly what you are doing. Then I think you won't have a problem in getting that paper to be accepted. Now, moving on to our stage 2, articulating theory. Well, okay, this is where you ask yourself, what do I believe is the approach that will help me achieve my goal? How do I how do I think? What do I think? What is the best way they can help students improve their reading habits, or to inculcate a better reading habits among the students? So you need to have a theory to guide you, a theory of practice. This is what I believe. If I do this, this is what will happen. So our actions, as opposed to the achievement target. So and to get this theory of practice, is you can get it. You can adopt wholesale from your reading, from literature review, or you can integrate your theory of practice with the experts, and also you make amendments, changes according to your own experience, what you think will work. So you can like mix and match, because it's yours. As long as you can explain it, it is fine. um, so you identify independent variable. In this case, if you are doing a quasi experimental, where you want to come up with an intervention that you think will help improve students' learning, then you got to identify what is that independent variable that you want to try out. What is that intervention? So, and then you got to, like in my extensive reading program, I only have that one program. So that's my independent variable. So some may have more. Okay, for example, like in terms of the example I gave here, 5 paragraph persuasive essay. Now, there may be in writing that persuasive essay, to be better at writing. Perhaps you need to think of, there are many variables involved, there are many factors involved. So, and then you need to think of the relationship interactions between them. If you don't understand, you think it's like that, but you don't really know, then you got to read. You got to read. There's just no shortcut to improving knowledge except to read. Yeah. um, then perhaps amount of emphasis for each variable, like the Priority Pie here. He suggests using a pie so that you can see it clearly. At one glance, you can see, oh, this I should give more importance to this, not so much on this. This is possible. Um, then with the Priority Pie, you ask, what actions need to be taken? Who is involved? If let's say you have a few actions to carry out the intervention, then which one should come first? So what you're actually doing is that you need to be clear how you are going to go about doing things, the sequence of the events, and should you fail, should things don't go wrong, don't go right, so you can retrace your steps and see where you went wrong. Now, so a theory is actually a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you don't have a direction. So having a theory is having a plan for our research. It gives you that guidance and direction. So coming out with your theory of practice is not just from thin air. Suddenly I feel like doing. No, it cannot be like that. It has to be from your experience and from your reading. So if it's successful, then others can follow easily. Just looking at your theory of practice, I will know how to carry out in my classroom and try it out with my own set of students. If cannot, then we retrace and find where it went wrong, and then we do our second cycle. Now, um, in articulating your theory, you got to. It is easier to have a graphic reconstruction. Graphic reconstruction, that means you 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 do it in like the example given here, to show your understanding of the issue under study. Like for mine, my extensive reading program, this is my theory of practice. I believe that um, through the 15-minute silent reading program, I would be able to improve students' reading habits, and this would lead to better proficiency in the language. This is my theory of practice. So moving on to stage 3, so you are clear about your issue, what your focus, you know your theory of practice to guide you. The next step is to implement the intervention, and you collect your data. Now, you ask yourself, what data will I need to collect to understand the efficacy and workings of my theory of action or theory of practice? And you would have your research questions. Now, how to draft research questions? No, there is no one, there is no, I, I can tell you what you cannot do in terms of your research questions. It cannot be it cannot be narrow questions where I can just answer yes or no. It's good to have open-ended questions. Don't use causal language. Like, because of this is what's going to happen. Don't do that. That means just by reading, I already know what you think will happen. It cannot be that. If that's the case, then there's no need to carry out the research. And your question can also show that what patterns and correlation between what do you think might be between the IV and DV. So and Sagoin propose ACR in your research question. Now ACR means A stands for action, changes, and relationship. What are these are the things that you would like to see through your research. So here, examples of research questions. What are the characteristics of teacher feedback that correspond to increases in the quality of student work? Second example, what was the nature of the formative feedback provided by group self-assessment, and in what ways it contribute to meaningful cooperative work? But I find that so basically research question, what do you want to be answered? McNiff and Whitehead make it simpler by just starting your question, your research question, with how do I, then followed with whatever issue that you would like to have solved. So for example, how do I, so then you fill in with your own issue. How do I negotiate a more productive relationship with colleague M? So I don't think there is one way of writing a research questions. As long as it's meaningful to you, it's clear to you, you know exactly what you are looking for, then I think nobody can say you are wrong. But that question cannot be answered just by looking at the question. If I can answer, then I think there's no reason to carry out the research. Um, Stage 3 also looks at data collection. Now, your data collection has to be valid, has to be reliable. Valid means if you measure, for example, if you're measuring, you use a measuring tape to measure height. That means you got to use the right thing to reflect the phenomena that you want to claim. It has to be reliable. That means it has to be accurate. For example, if you use a wrong measuring scale which is broken, it will give you a wrong weight, for example. So it has to be valid, it has to be reliable. And in action research, we always talk about triangulation. Now, triangulation means we collect data, 3 different kinds of data, and good enough, all 3 data at the end must point to the same direction, which means if I were to make a claim saying that because of my 15 minutes silent reading program, students have improved, I must have 3, it's good to have 3 different pieces of data that shows, yes, your students have improved. In terms of language proficiency, they are better now. Then they are better, we can see, perhaps from their test results, from their journals, 3 different data pointing to the claim that you're making. So this triangulation matrix, you can come up with your own table. Whenever I read something, I like to turn it into a visual kind of image so that it's easier for me to understand and to use. So I will turn things into tables and all. So this is by Sagor in his book. He said, put your research question on the most left, and then you have your data source 1, 2, 3. So in action research, it's good to have three data set, and from the data, you will pick out which one gives the evidence to back up whatever claim that you're making. Let's say I say students improve, show me your evidence evidence which shows that students have improved. Not just evidence, but like I said earlier, you must have your rubric. You must have that criteria based on what you say they have improved. All that. So in doing action research, you have to be comprehensive and systematic and very detailed in your collection of data. So for example, like what did we do? So your action can be shown from lesson plan, from your attendance record, or the student's portfolio of daily work. These are the 3 different sources. It's up to you. You decide, because it is your work. You will know. Now, stage 4, to the final stage of carrying out an action research. Now you have your data. Now you have your data. It's time to study your data. If you had not done stage 1, 2, 3 is not clear, then stage 4 will be a problem. You cannot get anything. You cannot make any claims. It doesn't show. So the stage 1, 2, 3 has to be clear. Then 4 is a breeze. So here, with your data you have studied, you will ask. This is where you can look ahead, future. How should I adjust my future action? If needs adjustment. If it's working, then perhaps you can just continue whatever you're doing. Now, stage 4 is where you analyze, you plan, and you do your reporting. So this is some examples that you can use a graph to show your data. This is when from your data, you're turning it into evidence. So whatever claim that you're making, yes, this is my evidence from your data. Because not all data can be used as evidence. Not all data can be turned into evidence and to to back up whatever claims you're making. So these are another example of how you can present your in presenting your evidence, your data. You can, these are your data collection. You can, you decide. Nobody can tell you how to go about doing things. You will know best. You look at examples of others and then you try and adopt it. If you find that adopting doesn't work, it just doesn't match my situation, then you adapt, make some changes. But whatever it is, even though the idea is taken from elsewhere, but once it comes to you, it is yours, because the manner you do it will be different. The students will be different, so it is yours. And when you share it, you're actually, so you are advancing knowledge and theory of practice. You're sharing with others. Another example, how Miss Pioneer's instructional timeline. So she will write exactly what she did, and later from here you study. You look for the trends, you look for patterns, you look for evidence. You need not come up with a specific tool to collect data. No, because I know we teachers are busy in school. We're not on top of what you already have to do. If I'm going to need a extra time or special data collection, I need to do something special for for my action research. Nobody is going to do it. It has to be whatever is ongoing in your classroom. Those are your data sources. And from your data sources, you pick out those that can act as evidence for your claims. Again, these are your data, your students' grades. And you can also look at the relationship. Since implementing, for example, for my extensive reading program, after implementing a 50-minute silent reading program, do I notice any changes in terms of their language proficiency? So you see the relationship between the action you have taken, action or actions. It really depends on you. Now, okay, so to summarize the steps in action research, you ask yourself, what do you want to accomplish? That'll be your research question to guide you. What is it that you want to accomplish? What do you want to improve? Something is not happening according to your values. Things are not happening according to how you think it should be. So you want to make changes, and you are in a position to make changes. So that's where action research comes in. Then, second question to ask yourself, what criteria will determine success? If I say students, because of my silent reading program, students have improved, now what criteria did I use to make that claim? So you need to have your assessment criteria. Then what do you think it will take to achieve success? Your theory of action. So that when you show it to others, when you are presenting or sharing, then people can follow, can just look at your theory and of practice. They know, they can tell the whole process. And then you decide the data that you will collect, and then how will you share your learning? After doing your action research, if you're not going to share it, it doesn't make, I think it's such a waste. I've seen a few of my colleagues in my Form 6 college. They've done lots of work, but they do not see the value in it being shared. They thought it's nothing. And I've been telling them, why don't you share this? They said, no lah, Jane, this is nothing. So I'm like, So this is another step-by-step action plan guidelines that you can follow. you just by going through the I think Magnif has eight questions. Just by going through all the 8 questions, you can already you can it is a complete action research. If you find that Sagos 4 steps too difficult, then you do this. No, even if you follow Sagos, let's say there are some parts where he said priority pie. He suggested priority pie, and you find that no lah, that is too troublesome. Then you don't need to do. You pick and choose with whichever suits you, whichever is convenient for you, and you can understand and bring it to your level. You are not going to impress anybody with anything difficult or beyond. No, I don't do that. I will just get ideas, but then I'll bring it to my level, how I understand it, and then I will share either through conferences, or if you don't want to talk and share with others, then you just send your article to any international journals. So here, McNiff and Whitehead starts with, what is my concern? You start off your research. What is my concern? Ask yourself, what is my concern? What is it that's troubling you in your teaching, in your classroom? Is it that one student is giving you problem and you want to know more about that student? But bear in mind, the issue has to be small, focused, manageable. Or else if it's too big and you can't, then you will lose it. Somewhere in between you will lose it. So don't. And ask yourself, why am I concerned? There will be some values that you hold close to your heart which is not happening in the classroom. So you want to change that. But identify it with yourself. Clarify in your head, what is it? Then the third one, ask yourself, what experiences can I describe to show why I am concerned? So you need your data and evidence. Even if it's not to show others, it's just for yourself, you still need evidence to convince yourself, oh, that this is working. So then ask yourself, what can I do about it? You want to improve it. So what can you do? What will I do? So action comes in. So what kind of data will I gather to show the situation? So data source, let's say students' work. So students' work will be your data source. And from there, you pick out pieces from there to act as the evidence. Number 7, how will I explain my educational influences in learning? So this, whatever claims that you make, like I said earlier, you have to have your tools, you have to have that standard of judgment, that criteria, that rubric. You cannot just, I think, improve out of nothing, out of thin air, cannot. You must have that standard of judgment. You say, I've improved because of this. This is my criteria. This is my rubric that I use. Number 8, how will I ensure that any conclusion I reach are fair and accurate? So this, how will you know? Because you're doing it yourself. Let's say the action research is you yourself. Then you need critical friends to show you, to tell you. You need critical friends or a validation group in your school. Maybe you can get a few friends to listen to you, or everybody share. So, because sometimes we think it's very clear in our head, we think that it's right and all. But the minute we have to explain to others, and others from their feedback, it will help you to clarify things. So, and then question 9, how will I evaluate the validity of the evidence-based account? So data and evidence comes in. How clear, how valid the criteria that you've used and the standard of judgment. So it's not just based on my intuition. I think it's like this. I think it's like that. No, we need criteria. We need standard of judgment. And then how will I modify my concerns, ideas, and practice in the light of my evaluation? So of course, when you get your findings, there'll be new things in your head. There'll be new things in my head. In fact, when you plan your research question at the start of your research, no, research is not a static thing. The minute I plan it like that, my research question, it cannot change. No, it will change. Action research is more flexible in that sense. So if you have, from your findings, you find that, okay, next stage, I would like to try this. Then you move on to the second cycle. If you don't want second cycle, then it's okay. It, no necessity of having, you must have a few cycles. No, I disagree with that. Okay, so now you've done your research in writing a report for your AR. Now, if you don't want to write a report, it's also fine. Go to a conference and do a poster presentation. Just come up with a poster. That's simpler. You don't have to write so much. But do share, because when you're sharing, you're not just benefiting the others listening to you, but also for yourself. It's more for yourself. I feel doing research is more for ourselves. It builds our we become very clear about things, and after some time, you just you know exactly why you are doing this, why you are doing that. No, it's at the back of my head. I always have it's not just because of routine and somebody asked me to do. No, you have your reason why you're doing it. Now, in writing, okay, in writing your action research, these are the characteristics that you need to have in your write-up. You need to explain the context, problem, and issue. So these are the 5 characteristics that any good research report will have. Then only it's clear to the reader. Or else if there's some gap here and there, then it wouldn't be a good research paper. So in terms of the first characteristics, make sure that you have explained the significance of the issue, what are the factors, what do you think the potential for change. Also bring in theoretical perspective. Either, like I said, either you adopt a theory that guides you in your research, or you come up with your own theory of practice. Your theory of practice will come from your own experience as a practitioner, and perhaps from your literature review. So it's a combination of both. But if you're not confident in coming up with your own theory of practice, you can just adopt any theories. There are plenty. Whatever you can think of, you can just type in that Google and theory for reading. Plenty. Then you choose which one is. For me, I'll choose simplest and that I can understand and that I think can be implemented in my context. Then research design. You have to explain how you went out, what is your design. You have to explain. Then in terms of validity and reliability, um, analysis of data. So support and logic of conclusion. When you are analyzing your data, whatever conclusion that you come to, you have to have the support. Like I said, the evidence. If can use triangulation, 3 different source of data to which points to the same thing. So whatever claims you're making, I'm not just saying, but there you have it. Show the evidence. And the last thing is action planning. This is perhaps for future research where it is supported by findings. That means whatever you suggest for future, it's not because you feel like doing it, but it's through findings from this research. So for next, I plan to do this. So it's you plan for further action research. This is it's also I'm just sharing abstract when we are Melta is having a conference soon online, so perhaps you want to submit your abstract. I think they have extended the abstract submission another 2 weeks. Try don't go for pedagogy. I think it's full. Go for teacher professional development or technology, or there are other tracks there. Now, and then when you submit your abstract, it's normally 250 to 300 words. It will be specified. The conference will specify. So these are the things that you should have in your abstract. Some conference, they already give you the subheadings, so you just follow. Some the one that the ones that don't provide, then you go by this. Begin with a statement of problem or the challenge. What is the problem you're facing? And then you give a description of the context of the researchers, describe your methodology, then you summarize the principal findings. You must have your findings lah before you do this. You can't be doing abstract first. So if you're doing abstract first, before actually carrying out the research, you won't have findings to put in your abstract unless you can think beforehand what are the findings that you likely to find, and state the conclusion, action plan, or additional research. So and sometimes you cannot remember. I can't remember. I mean, writing abstract is not something that we do every day. Maybe 1 year once or twice. So I will have a special file where I put all this. So if I need to write an abstract, I will take out my notes and I read. Okay, I need to have this. Do that. Do a file where you have all this. Then it's easy for you. I know that a lot of people say that they can't write. I looking back, when I first started my PhD, I had a difficult time. Whatever, but you got to start. Just start from where you are. You cannot wait until you are good. I don't know. You just, if you want to do it, then you just start from where you are, and you will improve. There's no such thing as not improving. You will just start. It's that first step. Taking that first step is most difficult. But of course, when writing for research, research papers, I don't think we can write if we don't read. Even action research, a practitioner's research, I am explaining my work, my practice. I still need literature review. I need to read here and there. So it gives me kind of strong background knowledge. But you got to read. I don't think there's a shortcut to this. Read. You perhaps if you don't have much time to read, then it's like 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there. You got to just whatever time that you have, then you read, and once you read, it helps you to write better. It did for me. Before I start writing any papers, I will read first. What I will do is like, okay, for my extensive reading program, I would read. And I know I'm sure all of you know Dr. Billy Renania he advocates extensive reading and now extensive listening. Now, so I would read everything that he has written on extensive reading, just so I know what it is about. Everybody talk about extensive reading, but what exactly? How to go about doing it? So I know from my reading, I will know, okay, extensive reading means students read for pleasure. Do not try not to give them any specific homework from their reading. They start reading from where they are, their proficiency level, not their age. Form 6 must be reading this kind of books. No such thing as that. It's from where they are. I will tell them, when you open a book, if you can understand like maybe 85% of then okay, or 90, then that book is for you. If 60% of the words you don't know, that's not the book for you. So for my extensive reading program, so these are the things that I know. Okay, extensive reading has to be like that. And if they will choose the books that they want to read, start from where they are. Reading is for pleasure, no homework given. So, and you'll be surprised when I ask for their feedback, their journal writing on what they think about the 15-minute silent reading program. I'm amazed. I mean, like you thought that you know things, and then when students, they say they've never read an English book before. They didn't know that how to choose a book, and that in carrying out their program, I have to know exactly, not just extensive reading, but exactly how to carry it out. And I also got a book, can't remember the title, um, recommended by Dr. Willie Renandia. So I bought the book from Book Depository website, and it's a whole textbook where this teacher talked about how she carried out her reading program in her classroom. So I studied the book. I picked here and there what I can use in terms of data collection, or how she went about doing things, what she realized, and then only I adapt it to my Form 6 students and carry it out. But it's still with the MCO and all. I cannot make um, a strong claim. Yeah, a weak one maybe, but a strong claim to say that they have improved. I'm not confident in doing that yet. So this I highly recommend that you read this book to know more. I'm whatever I tell you, maybe if you want to further understand it, then please read McNeef and Whitehead. Excellent. I enjoyed reading these books. They're like storybooks, um, the Action Research Guidebook, Methods Plain and Simple. It will help you. Sometimes for this presentation, I read the whole book. I read the book from page to page. But if I'm not doing this sharing, as and when I need which part, I'll take the book. For example, I'm not sure how to go about I'm not sure how to present my data. So I'll go to the section on presenting data presentation, then I'll just read and see examples and then done. No need to read the whole book. You no need, because not not necessary. So okay, thank you so much for listening. I hope I can influence some of you to start thinking about doing action research. Um, mm, I always believe that we learn from experience. If you have any, you can contact me from email. And can you please scan this for your certificates? This is the QR code.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jane. Well, I'm not sure about others, but I'm all fired up to do an action research in class. I mean, seriously, Seriously, it sounds easy, but I'm very curious about maintaining this curiosity that I have. I have questions from all about that, you know, that after listening to you, you feel like it's going to be easy.
It
It's
is.
going
Mm,
it is going to be easy. But and there's another word for it. It's going to be easy. It's going to be you are very encouraging. You know. But the thing is, right, with schoolwork and all, right, you don't find the
mm,
time. You don't find the time to read. You don't find. Yes, it is true, like you say. Action research can be done on all topics that we want to, on behavior, on the style we are teaching, on the exercise books that we are having, anything, or the examples that you have given, which is how am I going to get along with this colleague of mine, which I don't get along with. So those are all the things that we can research on. But the thing is, right, it always falls halfway.
uh,
It always you identify your problem. Then after that, the most difficult part for me will be the reviews. Okay, I will find the time, because going in online nowadays, right, the pleasure of having today's world is the information age is, right, you type something on internet, right, pages and pages will come out and you can pick and choose whichever that you want to. However, reading the thing. I pick up from you. You say, find something easy for you, find something which is on your own level, you know. But however, going through again, reading all these things, digesting all these things, like, is to me is going to be a little bit of pulling factor there. So what are your advices here?
mm. Yeah, I understand. I'm still going through that. I understand. It's not easy, and us having to do research in school, and we do not have access to a database. Some
Mm.
journals we find from Google. Okay, we found this article that we can use, we can replicate for our study. For example, you want to read more, but then you do not have access. Unlike in universities, they have
Mm.
access. So what I do, you need to have good friends whom are teaching in universities, so they can help you. They can help you access
Fine, fine.
those articles. Yeah, I do that. And how? I think I love to read. So it's kind of. But I understand as mothers, sometimes when we come home, we do not have the time to read.
Correct.
There's 101 things to look into, to send
Correct.
tuition, foreign kids, and here and there. But what I will do, Caroline, is that in school, but again, I cannot say for the mainstream teachers because I think they they are they are packed. Their timetable is packed.
Mm.
I
True.
think they can afford the time. As for me, in Form 6 college, I can still, in between classes, I can find time to read. I'll tell myself I must read 30 minutes. I will highlight here and there. Or while waiting for my kids, I will have my book and my highlighters with me. I will sit in the car and read. But um, yeah, yeah. But you must have a reason why you're doing it, why you're reading. So only when you are carrying out action research, for example, when I was doing my extensive reading program, when I need to write that article out, I need to have I need to sound convincing. I need to know what I'm doing.
Mm.
So there's a
Mm.
reason. If I have no reason, I doubt I will read. No reason, I don't think I will read. So by by doing a research, then you will read. That's why I think I like doing research because it forced me to read.
Mm. I really agree with what you said just now. You said that there's no shortcut to knowledge. but accept to read, you know. I have written it down, you know, because I repeat it again. There's no shortcut to knowledge except to read. You know, I hope everybody is listening and everybody is taking this into consideration. You know, that again I repeat, no shortcut to knowledge except to read. So therefore, right, if you were to do action research, right, you need to read. So I think that is a big hurdle for everybody. I think it's a big hurdle to everybody. So what if, let's say, we, you know, call up to everybody and join Melta chapter, so that we can form a group, you know, a reading group with Dr. Jane, you know, and keep this all up, you know. But it's because with today's world and with the COVID-19, right, you are confined in your own world, right? Oh, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Right, Dr. Jane. Now, these are a few questions that I have from the participants. Now, the first one is how do they identify problems or topics that they can do research on? And first and foremost, how to start? Any advice on that?
Okay, how to start? I mean, I
Mm,
have a number of people asking me the same thing earlier. How to start?
mm,
That is the stage one. The stage one, where you need to refine your focus. No, okay, how to find? For me, before when I joined Form 6 college, I noticed that I realized that my Form 6 students, they will have to sit Form Wet in upper 6.
correct. Mm,
And I realized their language proficiency is very bad, poor.
mm,
And
mm,
I'm thinking, what is the best way I can help them? And I've been listening to Dr. Willie Rinandia for years. He's advocating extensive reading. And for me, myself, my parents do not speak English, but I'm an avid reader. And through my reading, I, I,
you
I,
have
I
improved.
yeah. And I
Mm,
find that if it works for me, and if it works for Dr. Willie Rinandia, and many cases, when he has cited many case studies where he said, through extensive reading, students, we will improve. Anybody can improve their language proficiency. They can be more proficient in the English language. The first most effective method to learn, to be good in English, you go to UK or you go to America. Second most effective is to read.
mm,
And therefore, I think if primary and secondary they have learned, still they are still not good. Perhaps I should stress this reading among my students. Perhaps I should start to get them to read. So I cannot just tell them go home and read. They won't know or they may
correct.
not do. I want
Mm,
them to have a feel on what it's like to read. So so I started that 15 minutes silent reading program. So whenever I enter my class, 15, everybody will take out their book, their own book. They will take out their book and they will read. Silent reading, 15 minutes. And you'll be surprised by the results. And what students comment, they will say, primary, secondary, I've never read a book. And now I am so now I have read three English books. I didn't know that I can choose any books at my level. I thought I have to buy a book that reflects my age. So you have things like that, students telling you things like that. So it started off with me thinking, what is not happening in class that I would like it to happen? I do not see them having that I do not, they are not proficient in language. So I want them to improve. So that was an issue for me. And I feel that since I know reading is the thing that is the key that will help, why don't I push for this? So you identify, you get you there are many issues, but you choose one that's closest to your heart that you feel you want it to be solved.
Mm.
So,
So
like I
what?
said, through your reflective writing every day, in fact, Sagos, some experts suggest we get ideas from our reflective writing. We write every time you leave a class for 10 minutes. You just try to find that quiet time and write. So after a few months, you get some ideas from there. What is it that's disturbing you most? What
Mm.
issues disturb you most? Then you zoom on that particular issue.
Mm. So I would like to repeat again, Anna, that what what Jane is trying to tell us is which point is nudging at us, which is like a thorn in is a pain, So therefore, we sometimes when you go to classes, right, there's something that you really want to know. There is something that is nudging at you, and you want to overcome that problem as
Mm,
teachers. And I think with that, right, it answers the question of what kind of topic that I would do. I think for
mm,
everybody has got different kind of value and what they want to solve in the classroom. So
mm.
therefore, according to Jane, she says that you can do almost everything. So I hope that I've answered some of the questions here. Right, there's another one, very academic. Qualitative or quantitative?
Okay. We are language teachers. We are
Right.
strong in language. So I would suggest we go for qualitative. But of course, there will be you can have a mix. You can have both.
But I think again, like you say, Jane, that it depends on you. Maybe you are a qualitative kind of a person. So therefore, we are then that person leans on to the qualitative issues. But if you are more of a quantitative person, right, then we can use. But we can use both. Oh, we are losing her. Can everybody stand by? Jane?
Hello, hello. I'm so sorry. I think we have lost Dr. Jane. I'm okay. She's back. Okay, I'll
She's
go
back.
out.
Yeah. So, what do you think? So it depends on the person, on how much you
Yes.
want the ratio on the qualitative or the quantitative. Do you think that we should have the ratio belongs to that individual instead of
Yeah.
state instead of stating of 50-50, or
Yeah.
45
That,
55,
that- yeah. There's no hard and fast rules about this. But you can have both. You can have both qualitative and quantitative in your report writing of your AR. But I would think since we are language teachers and we we can write and explain better, so it'll be qualitative. For my PhD, I did quantitative, and I find that quantitative it helps those whom are not strong in the language. Not strong in the language, because quantitative you need not explain so much. You just show through your data analysis and the figures and all. So yeah, so it's up to the individual.
but I
There's
mean
no
for
hard and fast rule. Mm.
action based action research, in mind. I think these are the two things that we can we it depends on that person. But for if you were to
Mm.
do your PhD, right, it has to be quantitative because then it shows that
No,
it is
no,
more
no,
scientific.
no, no. There are PhD studies on AR.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm.
So everybody hearing that, you should go and proceed with that. It should be a pushing point for everybody to go for a PhD on action research. Last one. What are the positive? Do you think there are positive and negative effects on students that you observe as action researcher in the classroom? When you observe the students, right? Is there any negative or positive towards the students itself themselves? Like you're doing your extensive reading class, right? So you're doing it to your own class, your own class specifically, but other classes are not doing it. Does it have a positive or negative effect on them?
I would. I cannot think of a negative.
All right. We're not good enough. Our language is not good enough, so therefore we are doing something which is different from others. Is there a positive, negative effect? Because one of the participants asked.
I don't. I didn't. I didn't.
We should we
I
should we
think.
should do an action research on that.
Yeah, yeah. But my students are all 20 of them are so appreciative of the extensive reading program because I'm teaching them. I'm giving them a chance. They said they don't have a chance to read in class. And since it's not a habit that they have, they're not going to do it at home after school. So in class, I'm like forcing them to sit and read for 15 minutes. There's nothing else to do but to read. You have to read. So after some time, they get the hang of it and they are reading something which they can understand. So they are engaged to the book. So all this one, they didn't know that you can actually buy any book that you like. You must,
Would you
how to choose a book. Mm.
would you say that initially it was on a negative side a bit because they had to buy a book, they didn't know what to do, so there was a lot of pushing there. They had they didn't know what kind of books to buy. They didn't know what was going. They didn't know what was happening. They wonder why is it that they will be reading this in class. On the initial part, do you think
Mm.
it could be
I
a
will explain. Yes, yes, you are right. We need to explain. No, no, for me, I tell the students why I'm doing this. Why you will think that I'm forcing you, but why am I doing this? You all want to improve your language, right? So I'm telling them, since you can't afford to stay in UK or study in UK, let me teach you the second best strategy, reading a book. So they will all listen and think, oh yes, yes, we want to try, we want to give it a chance because this is our last chance. I said, Form 6 is your last chance. So let me help you. I'm telling you, reading will help. And 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 I have no problem, no issue. They are also thankful.
right,
They
right?
really want to improve. Mm.
So
We
there will be.
explain why we are doing it.
So if you sense there are some negative effects, right, we will need to explain what is happening to the
Mm.
students then.
Mm.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. If students do not know the reason we are carrying it. Yeah.
Oh, I have another one here. All right, can the action research thing can it be done in a team, more than one person?
Of course. Of course. It
Right,
is better. I'm even for me, last year when I was doing the extensive reading program, I think it's better to do in team. Then you have friends to discuss and then chat, compare. I think it's better to do in team. But the thing is that I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how how am I going to carry out this program. I'm not sure yet. So I want to try it first before I try to before I share with my other colleagues, other English teachers, and get them to do the same. And then we see the
right.
results. I think it is better to do in teams. Yeah. Mm.
So it again depends on the people that you are comfortable working with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great mind thinks alike. You work better if
Yeah.
you.
Yes. Mm. Some
It's
people
so
are just
much
not
easier.
interested. Yeah. Mm.
Some people are just not interested. So, Jay, are you around?
Hi everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. James, for such an insightful and very deep sharing on action research. I think there is so much of good and excellent vibes as well from all our participants, and
True.
therefore I would like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to Dr. Jane. We will give her a treat as soon as MCO is over. Yeah, and before I say goodbye, I will be sharing the QR code. So just hang on. And thank you so much to our dearly beloved moderator, Carol, and the
Thank you.
whole Malacca chapter team who is working at the back there, helping me to conduct this live session, and as well as Melta organization, all teachers who have joined us. Thank you. See you again for our webinar 2.0. We will have the next one in August. So stay tuned for the next one, and it's going to be another great sharing from Melta chapter. With that, I thank you, and I would just love to hug you all, a virtual hug. Okay, thank you, thank you. I'm going to share my screen at last, all right? So stay tuned uh, for the QR code. Can you see my screen now?
No, there's nothing.
Wait,
Jane, thank you. Oh, she has already gone. Thank you, Jane. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you.
can you see the screen? Can you see the QR?
Yes, can.
Okay, everyone, please get the QR code if you want your certs in 10 to 14 days. Okay, thank you.
Just leave it a while.
Okay, I'll leave it a while.
Mm-hmm. Let me see whether I can do it.
Okay, can I end it?
I think should be okay. Thank you very much, Jay. Jay, sorry.
Okay, all right.
All right. So
All
thank you,
right, bye
everybody.
everyone.
Bye,
Thank
everyone. Bye.
you.
Take care. Stay safe.
Yes,
Bye.
stay safe and keep in touch. Any questions, you can email Dr. Jane or even get in touch with me as well as Melta Melaka chapter. Bye.
Bye.